Okie doke. Hi everyone. Let's get started with the review that we have in front of us for the digestive system. We see that there is like 54 new cards, but oh, that's for the digestive system. I was thinking about the kidney and the skin, so let's go with this. So, what two parts of the nephron flow in opposite directions, creating a countercurrent multiplier system? So, one of them is vasa recta, and the other one is the loop of Henle, and it allows for maximal reabsorption of water. Yes, so vasa recta and loop of Henle create the countercurrent multiplier system. So the vasa recta blood network that surrounds the loop of Henle. So vasa recta is what surrounds here around the loop of Henle. Flows in the opposite direction, counter current. So it flows in the opposite direction of the loop of Henle. So there is a counter current exchange here. So water goes to the capillaries here, the vasa recta, and then on the way back up in the ascending limb, there is sodium chloride that goes back into the capillaries, and this creates a counter current exchange. So as this side, the blood is coming down while the ascending is going up, and then it's the reverse, right? So it's counter current, and this allows for the maximal reabsorption of water, because here you bring in the sodium chloride and then here you put the water back in, and this will establish a salt gradient in the medulla of the kidney. Here it loses water and here it loses salt, and it works perfectly for. So countercurrent multiplication in the kidney is the process of using energy to generate an osmotic gradient. So there is osmotic gradient here. So osmolarity, anything related to osmolarity and osmotic gradient happens in the kidneys, and that enables us to reabsorb water from the tubular fluid and produce concentrated urine. So this is what enables us to produce concentrated urine. And yes, so this is great for making the urine concentrated, the osmotic gradient, the countercurrent multiplication system, and this also prevents us from producing liters and liters of dilute urine. So you don't have to drink so much water to stay hydrated, right? We have these bits of information, but we can come back to it later. So thin skin epidermis has the following 4 layers. For the outer layers, we have, so it was the spinosum luciderm, which is in the thick skin. Stratum lucidum it is added between corneum, so it's CL, and then granulosum, and then spinosum, and spinosum might be for the inner, and basale is for the inner. So we have CLG SB. We have corn corn loose, corn lucky, Grammy, spine, and basil and basil. Yeah, for now. So if we have here corn, lucky, corns are lucky. Because they win Grammys, Granny Lawson. And their spines are made of basil. That is some intense visuals that will give us to perhaps be able to remember this. So we can imagine lucky corns. So corneum is on the outer level, outside of the outer skin, outer epidermis, and then they're lucky, so lucidum, and then where's the thick skin? It's here, lucidum, and then we have so dead cells flaking off at the skin surface here. And then we have because they win Grammys, so these corns that are lucky are winning Grammys, and also they don't have spines. So their spines are made of basils. Okay, cool. So we can do that again. Most of the skin can be classified as thin or thick skin. I believe most of the skin is thin skin. Yes, so we have it here. It's mostly thin skin, not thick skin. Thick skin has an extra layer, lucidum, but that is not the reason that it is thicker than thin skin. The real reason is the other layers are thicker in thick skin than in thin skin. So maybe it's trying to say the outer layers makes more sense. So the epidermis, you can see, is thicker because the layers are thicker. It's not because of the extra layer of lucidum. That's important, and we need to keep that in mind. Thick skin is found only on what and the what? It's only found on palms of the hands and soles of the feet. What are mechanoreceptors essential for light touch sensation? I believe these are Merkel cells for light touch. We have free nerve endings for pain, touch, temperature, chemical, Merkel disc, continuous pressure, Meissner corpuscle, light pressure, low frequency vibrations, so it's not very rapid movement. Ruffini nerve endings are for stretches. Pacinian corpuscle is for deep pressure and high frequency vibrations. That's amazing. You have the Merkel cell. a beta afferent, norepinephrine, beta 2 adrenergic receptors. You need to know what those are used for. We have the Merkel disc marker. I have no clue why. It's like light touch sensation. What are a type of dendritic cells found in the skin? They present antigens to T cells. So the dendritic cells in the skin are Langerhans cells, and they present antigens to T cells. So yeah, they're a first line of defense on the epidermis. They are a subtype of dendritic cells. They engulf the antigens in order to present it to T cells. They have also Langerin, and it is the most important surface molecule, which resembles DC sign expressed by dendritic cells. Give the two layers of the dermis. It's I forgot, papillary and reticular. You papillate the dermis. Its papillary should be higher, should be on the outer level, yeah, because you can palpate it. But then reticular, what's the meaning of reticular? Okay. What four things are examples of connective tissue? So it's bone, tendon, cartilage, and blood, and even skin. Wait, skin is epithelium. So it's those four: tendon, cartilage, bone, and blood. We have areolar tissue, adipose tissue, dense tissue, compact bone, and blood. So compact bone and blood, there you go. And for tendon and cartilage, we have dense connective tissue like tendon, and areolar probably for cartilage. Where do we have areolar tissue as connective tissue in the body? The kidney has how many capillary beds in series? They connect the arteries to the veins inside the nephron. So kidneys have two capillary beds in series. We know there are two other places that this takes place: in the liver, the hepatic portal system, and the hypophyseal portal system. So kidney has two capillary beds, and they are in series. Now, they connect the arteries to the veins inside the nephron. And the two capillary beds are the glomerular and peritubular capillaries. So they are are the capillary beds in series: glomerular and peritubular. Yeah, there are two other instances in the body of capillary beds in series. The kidney is unique because there is an arteriole between these, but it is still one of three portal systems in the body. The glomerulus is a network of what located at the beginning of each nephron in the kidney. So it's a network of capillaries located at the beginning of each nephron. The kidney regulates pH by adjusting the levels of what H plus and bicarbonate. So it regulates pH by adjusting the levels of excreted H plus and reabsorbed bicarbonate. So that's a good one to repeat. So we excrete H plus and we reabsorb bicarbonate. Aldosterone is a hormone synthesized in what? In response to angiotensin 2 or high K plus concentration. So we know aldosterone is synthesized in the adrenal cortex in response to angiotensin 2 or high K plus concentration. Aldosterone increases sodium reabsorption in the distal DCT and collecting duct, thereby increasing blood pressure and blood volume, increasing water reabsorption and raising blood pressure. Yes, it increases blood volume too. Urine passes from the kidneys through the ureters, then into the bladder, and then out through the urethra. The detrusor muscle is the muscular lining of bladder. It what to store? Urine. And what during urination? Oh, so it's about contraction and relaxation. So the detrusor muscle, when we want to store urine, it relaxes, and when we want to urinate, it contracts. Yes, where is the detrusor muscle? It's in around the bladder. And then we have internal sphincter, which is under autonomic control, and the urethral orifice, which is we have the external sphincter, pelvic diaphragm, which is under somatic control. The internal ureter is made of smooth muscle and is under autonomic control, parasympathetic control to be specific. So it's autonomic and parasympathetic. And the external urethral sphincter is made of the skeletal muscle and is under somatic control, voluntary control. The proximal convoluted tubule is the site of what of glucose? Probably reabsorption or secretion. Amino acids, soluble vitamins. So yeah, PCT is the site of exchange, bulk reabsorption. So the way these work is through bulk flow, and this is close to diffusion, but it is slightly different. So we have bulk reabsorption of glucose, amino acids, so both carbs and proteins, amino acids, and soluble vitamins, so vitamin B and C, and salt, So we have NaCl as well and H2O. Water. The proximal convoluted tubule is the site for hunk, dump to hunk. So for PCT we have dump to hunk. So it's the site. So when you're dumping it, you're excreting it. You're secreting it. Secretion for H plus, urea, NH3, and K plus. If it was in the glomerulus, we would call secretion filtration. But since we're talking about anywhere else other than the glomerulus, then it is secretion for hunk, H plus, urea, NH3, and K plus. The descending limb of loop of Henle is permeable to what but not what. So it is permeable to, the descending limb is permeable to water but not salt, NaCl, because we want to go into the deep into the medulla, which is concentrated, and the osmolarity is high. So we want to make sure that we are going with concentrated filtrate, and we want to extract the water out of it. So we want to secrete water out of the filtrate. I mean, we want to reabsorb water. The ascending limb is the opposite, so it's permeable to salt but not water. And it is reabsorbed, so salt is reabsorbed both passively and actively. Which one is the passive and active, I'm not still sure, so I have it however in our question list, so you can ask that later. What segment of the nephron is in the, because salt is actively reabsorbed in the side? Okay, there we go. So we have it here. So it should be the diluting segment, which is in the outer medulla, because salt is actively reabsorbed in the side. So the active transport takes place in the thick segment of the ascending limb of loop of Henle. So it's in the ascending limb, and this is where active transport takes place. And the diluting segment is in the outer medulla because salt is actively reabsorbed in this side. The DCT is responsive to aldosterone and is a site of reabsorption for sodium and water. So site of salt reabsorption and waste product secretion, similar to PCT. We didn't get the waste product secretion, so we have to do this again. The collecting duct has what permeability, which allows reabsorption of the right amount of water depending on the body's needs. So depending on the body's needs for water, collecting duct has should be water permeability. So it's like aquaporin. It has variable permeability. Okay, so this variable permeability allows for reabsorption of the right amount of water. We do it again. Stratum lucidum is the epidermis layer that is only found in thick skin. However, this is not the reason that thick skin is thick. It's the fact that all the outer layers are thicker than the thin skin. Melanin is produced by melanocytes, my bad, and protects skin from DNA damage caused by UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation. So it's melanocytes. Amazing. What in the skin can detect temperature, mechanical stimuli, touch, pressure, stretch, or pain? Nociception. When it comes to pain, it should be the free nerve endings. So yes, it's the free nerve endings. The other ones don't have pain perception. So once you have pain, some of them do have temperature. No. So only like touch, pressure, and stretch is about the other ones. So we can keep that in mind. Mercurial discs are for touch. Krauss and bulbs for touch. Also root hair plexus for touch. Free nerve endings for pain, heat, and cold. So temperature and pain. Masonry corpuscles for touch again, and Pacinian for pressure. Pacinian is easy since it's pressure, and Ruffini endings for pressure as well. So you need to apply pressure on the roof of your mouth, for example, or the house. That's a way to keep that in mind. So did we get that right? Yes. What is a type of nerve ending in the skin that is responsible for sensitivity to light touch inside the dermis? So once it says inside the dermis and light touch, we might be thinking about Merkel cells, but it's Meissner's corpuscle. So when it is inside the dermis, as you can see here, this is the epidermis, this is the dermis. Once it is inside the dermis, it's Meissner corpuscle. But when it is, you can see free nerve endings are in epidermis, and Merkel discs are also in epidermis. So it says continuous pressure. So for example, when you apply pressure continuously on the skin, so we'll do this again. What are responsible for the sensation of the stretch of your skin? So once you have stretches, it should be about the Ruffini. No, I think yeah, the Ruffini endings. So it's for a stretch. It looks like it's stretched itself too. Do we have Ruffini endings here? Yes, it's in the dermis for a stretch. Ruffini ending, roof, stretch. What are nerve endings in the skin? Responsible for sensitivity to vibration and pressure. Vibration and pressure should be, Pacinian is for pressure, right? So we have Pacinian corpuscles, Pacinian. Yeah, here we have it. And high frequency vibrations. The deep pressure is Pacinian. Light ones is Meissner. What lies between the dermis and underlying tissues and organs? It consists of mostly adipose tissue and is the storage site of most body fat. So between dermis and underlying tissues is, I believe, the fat and connective tissue that is at the surface. I think the name was the basement membrane. Okay, we have hypodermis. So it is hypodermis that is. So basement membrane, I believe, was the border between epidermis and dermis. But the fatty tissue, adipose tissue, mostly under the dermis, is hypodermis. So thermoregulation is accomplished through what for of okay. So we have the respiratory system that does that. We have the let's just see this. So sweating. Okay, so we're talking about sweating, piloerection, so thermoregulation, vasodilation or constriction, and one more, shivering. Okay, so once you're hot, you want to vasodilate uh, to release the heat. Once you're hot again, when you're cold, you want to vasoconstrict to reserve the heat, right? Then, and these are the arterioles that do this, right? Then, what else? So we have, what else do we have? We have the we have piloerection here, pylorelaxation. So hairs on skin stand up when you're cold. Once you're hot, this means the hair is flattened, pylorelaxation. Then we have the sweating. So sweating and shivering are the opposite. So when you are hot, you sweat to secrete sweat, which removes heat when water changes state. So it's exothermic reaction, I believe. So you are releasing heat. And then you have shivering, rapid contraction, and relaxing of skeletal muscles. So your skeletal muscles are relaxed, but they are in rapid contraction. Oh, so it's rapid contraction, relaxing. So it contracted, relaxed again quickly, back and forth. And the heat is produced by respiration. Okay. Evaporation of sweat from the skin surface has a cooling effect due to sweating, evaporative cooling. It is called the evaporative cooling. As each drop of sweat evaporates, it takes a bit of body heat away with it. So you can see here the demonstration as evaporation happens, the radiation of the skin happens, heat produced by muscles, sweat glands, heat in the blood. So evaporative cooling. What is the erection or bristling of hairs due to the involuntary contraction of small muscles at the base of hair follicles that occurs as a reflexive response cold? It would be piloerection. Yeah. When it's cold, the muscle contracts, pulls. So when you're cold, you have piloerection. When it's cold, the muscle contracts, pulls the hair up. A layer of warm air accumulates around the hair and insulates the organism. Heat is retained. So piloerection is for keeping warm. So that's for when you're cold. Thick skin is found only on the palm of the hands or the soles of the feet. Amazing. Shivering is when your what muscles, probably skeletal muscles, shake in small movements. This creates warmth by expending energy. Skeletal muscle. Why is it skeletal muscle? However, why is it skeletal muscles that shiver when you're cold for thermal regulation? When core body temperature drops, muscles begin to twitch. This rapid and contraction and relaxation of the muscles is called shivering. Shivering generates heat, which raises body temperature. Goosebumps involuntarily appear when a person becomes cold. Goosebumps are caused by the tiny muscles at the base of body hairs pulling the hairs erect. The upright hairs trap an insulating layer of air, which helps reduce heat loss. So this is the mechanism that it works with. Goosebumps involuntarily appear when a person becomes cold. So you have piloerection, goosebumps, for when you're cold to keep yourself warm. Goosebumps are caused by the tiny muscles at the base of body hairs, pulling the hairs erect. So you have the muscles under it that pulls it erect. The upright hairs trap an insulating layer of air. So when you have piloerection, when your hair is erect, you are trapping air inside it. It's like the winter jackets, which helps reduce heat loss. So it reduces heat loss because you have a layer of air. Shrinking the diameter of blood vessels that supply the skin, so vasoconstriction, reduces blood flow and helps retain heat. You don't want to expel it. You expel it with vasodilation. Okay. What else? You have vasoconstriction. Blood flow bypasses surface of skin. Blood returning to heart hasn't lost much heat. Back to heart. So on the outer layer of epidermis, we have the thin skin. For thin skin, we have the corneum, which is the corneum, which is lucky, so we don't have the lucidum. And after that, we have the corn that has a spine made of basal, so spinosum basale. But there was a corneum, so we have the granulosum. Did we forget the G here? Oh, Van Grammys. So let's write it. Corns are lucky because they win Grammys. They're eaten by grannies. Granulosum. You can have their eaten by grannies, grandmas, whose spines are made of basil. So we have corns, lucky, being lucky, eaten by grannies, whose spines are made of basil. So basil. Basil sauce. Then we have vasodilation, which increases blood flow to the skin and helps expel heat, right? Because it goes, the blood flows close to the surface and the surface of skin, and the heat is lost. skip the two layers of the dermis, it was papillary and then reticulum under it. What sends and receives nerve impulses to and from the brain when hair moves? So when hair moves, you have hair follicle receptors. So when your hair is moving, we have hair follicle receptors that sends and receives signals from the brain, impulses to and from the brain. Structure of the hair follicle receptor. This is example of simple cuboidal epithelial tissue. This is a pseudo columnar, pseudo stratified columnar. We have what part of nephron which is permeable to H2O. It is the descending limb, which is permeable to water. This is a stratified squamous epithelial tissue. The kidney has two capillary beds in series. They connect the arteries to the veins inside the nephron. They connect the arteries to the veins inside the nephron. These two capillary beds. Yeah, it's glomerular and peritubular. Surround the tubes. So like tubules, you know, PCT and DCT. So peritubular. This is an example of the simple squamous epithelial tissue. This is an example of columnar, simple columnar. What part of nephron is the site of secretion? So down to Hank, it's for PCT. Yes. Kidney regulates pH by adjusting levels of excreted H plus and reabsorbed bicarbonate. So you excrete H plus, you secrete H plus, and you reabsorb bicarbonate. This is an example of stratified cuboidal epithelial tissue. Aldosterone increases sodium reabsorption in what and what? In the DCT and collecting duct, thereby increasing H2O reabsorption and raising blood pressure. H2O reabsorption and raising blood pressure. This is an example of stratified. Is this columnar? Yeah. Stratified columnar epithelial tissue. The kidney regulates pH by adjusting the levels of excreted H plus and reabsorbed bicarbonate. This is a transitional epithelial tissue. What is the muscular lining of bladder? Is the detrusor muscle. Relaxes for urination, contracts for urination, relaxes for storing of urine. Bone, cartilage, tendon, and blood are examples of connective tissue. The external is skeletal muscle and voluntary control. And that was urethral sphincter. Epithelial tissue covers internal and external surfaces of the body. The excretory pathway is glomerulus, and then the PCT, descending limb of Henle, then the ascending limb, and then we have the DCT, we have the collecting duct, then we have the renal pelvis, and then the ureter, and then bladder and urethra. Amazing. The diluting segment of the nephron is in the outer medulla. So the diluting section is in the outer medulla because what is actively reabsorbed in this side? It's salt that is actively reabsorbed in this side. The proximal convoluted tubule is, I don't get the reasoning behind that, by the way. Like why salt's reabsorption is related with like being the reason for the diluted segment being the outer medulla. I mean, yes, it's called diluted because salt is being reabsorbed, but it's not related to the active transportation of salt, active reabsorption. The proximal convoluted tubule, let's see if it was actively reabsorbed, yes. The proximal convoluted tubule, PCT, is a site of, so glucose, amino acids, soluble vitamins, salt, and H2. Are they excreted or are they reabsorbed? So these are reabsorbed, right? Bulk reabsorption. So these are bulk reabsorption. We can do that still again. Identify the missing item from the urinary pathway. Bones calcium, PCT. We have ascending limb. So in between we have the, wait a sec, descending limb. This is easy. What is produced by melanocytes? Melanin, and protects skin. What part of nephron is responsive to aldosterone and is a site of salt reabsorption and waste product secretion? This should be DCT, similar to PCT for waste product secretion, but salt reabsorption. Yeah, PCT has it too, right? You must have it. PCT reabsorbs all nutrients. Do we have NaCl? There we go. Reabsorption, H plus, salt, nutrients. Okay, we got this. Missing link, DCT, and renal pelvis. There's collecting duct. This is easy. What is the epidermis layer that is only found in thick skin? It's the stratum lucidum. Urine passes from the kidneys through what? Then into the bladder and then out through the what? So it's through the ureter and then out through the urethra. The kidneys are two bean-shaped organs that help body pass what as urine? It's urea, and also help waste as urine, and also help filter blood. So two main functions, big picture, super big picture, for the kidneys. They help the body pass waste as urine, so that's one, and also filter blood before sending it back to the heart. This is super important. So we have to do this again. What is the functional unit of the kidney? It's nephron. 1.3 million nephrons per kidney. The three skin layers are epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. The hypodermis is also subcutaneous layer. We have the site of bulk reabsorption of these, so it's PCT. So it's salts, soluble vitamins, nutrients, glucose, amino acids, soluble vitamins all together, and salt and water, right? We have salt and H plus here. I mean, water is not reabsorbed, but for some reason, I don't get it, man. Yeah. DCT has K plus added, so we need to keep that in mind. What is a network of capillaries? Located at the beginning is glomerulus. Glomerulus, yes. What has variable permeability, which allows reabsorption of right amount of water depending on the body's needs. So this variable permeability should be the loop of Henle, right? For water. However, we have collecting duct and yeah, the variable permeability, it should be the collecting duct because it's responsive to both aldosterone and ADH. So that's why it has variable permeability, but still we can do that again. Aldosterone is a hormone synthesized in the adrenal cortex in response to what or high? So aldosterone is a hormone synthesized in the adrenal cortex in response to angiotensin 2 or high K plus concentration. Because K plus we have it for DCT as well, if you remember, right? You see here, secrete K plus, DCT. What part of nephron is permeable to salt? So it's the ascending limb. Without water, it's the ascending for salt only. ADH is a hormone that increases permeability of the collecting duct to water, which increases water reabsorption. In lower blood osmolarity, the urine will be concentrated, aka higher urine osmolarity. In contrast, aldosterone reabsorbs sodium, and since water follows, yeah, blah blah blah. What segment of nephron is in the what? Because salt is actively reabsorbed on this side. It is the thick segment of the ascending limb of Henle. Is in the so the diluting segment is in the outer medulla because salt is actively. We need to do that again. Outer medulla diluting segment, and salt is actively. The collecting duct has what permeability, which allows reabsorption of the right amount of water depending on the body's needs. It has variable permeability. The DCT is responsive to aldosterone and is a site of what and what? It's a site of so for aldosterone, it's a site of water, sodium reabsorption and water reabsorption and waste excretion, waste product excretion, same thing here. So salts reabsorption, and which reabsorbs water with itself too, and waste product secretion. Smooth muscle parasympathetic control, which urethral sphincter, it's the internal one. You can't control the internal of yourself anatomically. Mentally, you completely can. What is a type of nerve ending in the skin that is responsible for sensitivity to light touch inside the dermis? So light touch inside dermis, we're talking about the it's not the Merkel. Merkel is in epidermis, so it should be about the the Pacinian is for pressure. For this is about the corpuscle one, the Meissner's corpuscle. So yeah, this is a hard one, but we finally got it. Meissner for light touch is in the dermis is Meissner, but for epidermis we have Merkel, right? yeah, for now it does the job. What lies between the dermis and underlying tissues and organs? It is hypodermis, and it consists of adipose tissue mostly. What are responsible for the sensation of the stretch of your skin? So stretch should be the ruffini index. Imagine the roof being stretched from here. So yeah, thermoregulation is accomplished through piloerection, or the flattening of the hair, vasodilation or vasoconstriction. We have sweating, or what's the opposite of sweating? Like goosebumps, and the shrinking of body, like shivering. So we have shivering for instead of sweating, and we have curling up, stretching out. So when you're hot, you stretch out. When you're cold, you curl up. Evaporation of sweat from the skin surface has a cooling effect due to the evaporative cooling. It takes a bit of body heat away with it. Each drop of sweat evaporates and takes a bit of body heat away with it. What sends and receives nerve impulses to and from the brain when hair moves? It's hair follicle receptor. And PCT is the site of reabsorption of glucose, amino acids, soluble vitamins, urea, salt and water. Salt and water. Oh, sorry, bulk reabsorption. So yeah, this one is forget the bulk. Kidneys are help the body pass waste as urine, right? And also helps the filtering of blood before it goes back to the heart. Amazing. Congrats. Okay, let's take a 5-minute, 10-minute break or something, and then get back on continuing the rest. For now, peace.